Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. Man, I hope you're having a fabulous Wednesday hump day. We got a lot of things to talk about. Just want to give a shout out. Today, we were supposed to be talking about mental health in the Muslim community. That's going to be moved to next week. Dr. MQ was not able to make it. She's still on vacation, but she will be here in this exact same spot next week. So don't you move. We're going to actually move the show. Normally 30 minutes. We're probably going to do about 45 minutes because we have a lot to unpack. And this whole idea of mental health in the Muslim community, which is really a microcosm of mental health in the overall United States, particularly for African-American Muslims, immigrant Muslims. We have a lot of things that we are not talking about, and silence is killing us. Our topic today, and I want to make sure I'm really careful. The topic today is power to the people. The question is, which people? For the last 3.5 years, I'd say maybe 4, I'll give it 4 years, there's been a close and very concentrated effort to make sure that the oppressors look like the oppressed and the oppressed look like the oppressors. The oppressed look like those who are ungrateful, who are underserved, who are unnoticed, unappreciated, but that becomes the calling card, meaning that we are at the behest of the government who does not work to serve us. Now, when I say government, I want to be careful and not be out here about politics. Okay? Real politics is local. And if we can control the things around us that are local, brothers and sisters, then the question is, can we actually control anything? In our Muslim communities, in our own Muslim ummah, do we really have control, oversight, understanding, balance, and some of the things that happen in our own communities? We were exploited in the last election. People knew that we were disjointed. So to quote Imam Muhammad Muhammad from back in the day, once they figured that out, that we're not on the same page, we haven't been on the same page, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. And that's what the last election was. That being said, you now have a very aggressive, very open process whereby people are looking to take your civil rights. When I explained the show in the description, I said, this is the first situation. We have something that's akin to the civil rights with the Civil War, with the exact problem that the North isn't wrong and the South isn't wrong. The South is wrong and the North is wrong. And the question is, if you don't fit into the North or the South, what is your place in this situation? Many of us are sitting on the sidelines waiting for the other shoe to drop, sadly. In Los Angeles, and I'm going to explain this for those that don't understand military action, military exercise. If you don't understand that, I'm going to try and break that down to you. This becomes a part where my mentor, Dick Gregory, said this is the part where when people look at you as a comedian and you start saying and really talking about the things that you're seeing, consequently, you become funny. You not become funny. You become unfunny. You're not humorous, meaning that the things that you're seeing don't have the pleasure of going through a filter where I can make it funny for you. Even more so, sadly, I find that we're behind. We've been distracted by so many things that we continue waking up wondering why we can't make $1 out of 15 cents because we don't even have 15 cents. This becomes even larger. And when I say larger, because the worst part about it is, as correct as I can be about it, somebody can turn around and say, he's not correct at all. And the balance is I can have all the facts and they don't have to have any facts at all. You can be in America right now, whatever you want to be. If you can find 3 or 4 people to say that's who he is or that's who she is. It's the balance of the crowd right now. We talk about the wisdom of the crowd, the herd mentality. It is the balance of the crowd right now. And if we're not going to wake up and talk about it, then we're doomed. Shows like the Shout Out Show will go away in the next 6 months. You know why? Because someone will tell about the Shout Out Show and someone say that we were somehow insurgents, that we were this and we were that. But what they won't say is that we were correct. What they won't say is that we had insight. What they won't say is we asked around. If we're the victims, we're the ones who are explaining our experience. We're talking about accountability. We're talking about people redeeming themselves in our eyes. We're talking about people who understand the process, but still will not follow the basic rights and truths of this process. this is what we have today. So we're getting ready to jump off. We're going to start the show. We're going to rewind. I want to thank everybody that came in last week. I want to thank everybody that's here this week. I'm going to try and get this done in 30 minutes. Well, it's really like 24 minutes and about 24 minutes, about 15 seconds. I'm going to try and make it work. Let's start the show. We'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in. We're talking about power to the people. Which people? We're back. Before we get started, I want to make sure we give our shouts out. I want to give a shout out, of course, the undeniable talent of Sister Satana Whitfield, our executive ED on the show. Thank you so much. Exec producer on the show. Thank you so much for being on the show, sister. Appreciate you. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, brother Altaf Rashid, tuning in. One of our day ones, man. Ride or die, Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, tuning in from Canada. Hey, what's the show with our brother Altaf Rashid? Appreciate you. Also want to give a hearty salam to my brother JT Johnny L. Thomas. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And also want to give a shout out brother Bilal and his sister, his queen, Sister Sonia Dalton Salahuddin, excuse me. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I know brother Eric is going to be here momentarily from South Kakalaki. I'm going to tell him in advance. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think we had 2 people on Instagram. We got B11399, Samaya, Hassam, Hanif, and one other person joined. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, Eric, I just shouted you out. I gave you a salam in advance. So, wa alaikum assalam. And also want to give a shout out for everybody that had a great Eid. Shout out to Prince George's account, Prince George's Association, Muslim Association. They did a great job for Eid. They had it out at the Learning and Sports Center out on Sheriff Road. Nice, very nice affair. Also want to give a shout out to my main man, brother Omar Kareem. They are doing a groundbreaking in not Landover, America, but Addison Road Metro Center, a $96 million project. Keep on, brother, doing your thing, brother. We appreciate you. So, what else want to do? I'm going to give a shout out to all the families. I want to give a shout out to my mom, my aunt. I'm going to give a shout out to all the old heads. When I say all the old heads, all the old schools have been telling us for years what we're seeing now is coming down the road. Here's the thing that I should be very careful about. When these people lose, I'm talking about these politicians lose, they don't lose in a conventional sense like I lost, the competition is over. It's never over. When they lose, it is an opportunity to regroup, redefine what they're doing, and reassert themselves. So the truth is nothing that has to be dealt with. Consequences are nothing have to be dealt with. It's never a period. It's always a comma, at best a semicolon, for things that are going to keep continuing coming down the pike. We've spent the last couple months watching people get rounded up. Here we go. Getting rounded up by ICE, quote unquote, quasi-law enforcement people, because they're not actually marshals, brothers and sisters. In the prisons and the detention centers that they're taking them to, there's a question there because these are not public detention centers. These are privately run detention centers, just like privately run prisons. You want to know why people stay locked up so much in private prisons? And I'm going to tell you why. Because in private prisons, they're not. There's no call to action for protocol, probation hearings, mental health assessment, healthcare. All of that is a private matter, meaning that what they're going to give you is the cheapest thing they can give to you if they give it to you at all. In New Jersey, we had some black politicians who wanted to go and take a review of one of these private detention centers, ICE detention centers, and the sister was actually brought up on charges, criminal trespass and a bunch of other charges. I think it was criminal trespass, assault. But here's what I'm saying. They had already reviewed and revisited that place. They'd already done an inspection of the place. Going back, the issue was made that somehow they were not invited to. I'm like, how are you not invited to a place, but you're receiving public taxpayer dollars? That public taxpayer dollars are what drives this whole thing. Here in Washington, D.C., two things are going to happen. One is minor, but it kind of nice. But we have a show at Adams Community Center in Sterling, Virginia. But at the same time, the only reason we could actually have it in Virginia is you can't do anything in Washington, D.C. because then they have a big military parade down here. There's going to be protests. This is going to be a very active weekend. And we can begin to ask the question. We say power to the people, but which people? This is America now. We're run by a cult. MAGA is a cult. If you really peel back aspects of MAGA, they are working hard in their own mind to create a situation where Donald Trump, if he cannot be God, he has to be at least Jesus-like in the narrative. Stick a fork in it. I don't care about that. Here's the thing that I actually care about. You've got to watch the news, and then you have to go review the news. These are things that are privy to me because I spent 6 years in military school. I've learned a whole lot of things. If you want to know what happened in Los Angeles and now in Texas, the implementation of the National Guard is for one thing only. And this be very careful about this. The implementation of the National Guard in Los Angeles was done for a reason. Originally, we have to do our homework, but originally, Marines were dispersed. And once the Marines were there, then they brought in National Guard. Here's the deal. The National Guard should have gone first. The Marines should not have been involved at all. This is a military exercise. Hear me carefully. This is a military exercise. JT, my brother's he was in the Army. I went to military for school for 6 years. I actually stayed awake in some of the military science classes. Let me give you a clue what happens in real war. This is what happens in real war, whether it's the Gulf War 1, 2, whatever wars we're talking about. The first people in to a war zone are the Marines. The Marines are not sent there as an act of war. The Marines are sent there as a policing action. The United States, through the Constitution and a whole lot of statutes, have mandated that it has to be a process. You cannot send service members in. There's a process. You can send in the Marines, and if the Marines cannot stabilize the situation, then you send in the Army. The Army is a declaration of war. In Los Angeles, you didn't get the Army. What you got is the National Guard, which is a paramilitary operation when needed. Normally, it's a rescue operation. It's a help organization. You haven't seen the National Guard gets displaced in a meaningful way until when? The civil rights. It's time to the civil rights. Black folk who had to be protected to go into school, right? Black people, young girls trying to go to school, sadly being forced to go to these schools. Now you have to bring in the National Guard to protect children or protect a man who wants to go to a all-white school and deep in the South, and you need the National Guard. The National Guard was needed at the Chicago Democratic Convention back in the 60s. Why? I'll tell you why. It's a rehearsal. It's a rehearsal. The protesters are going to come down the road, and there are going to be a lot of protests, brothers and sisters, a lot of protests. Because the people who are going to be protesting, let me tell you who these folks are going to be. There'll be people like myself. There'll be people like many of you to watch this show. And the reason I say that is because these folks are enlightened. Understanding for myself that if this thing proceeds as necessary, proceeds as, let me phrase it, perceive with the perception of being necessary. You've created a situation scenario in 2 or 3 years when we have an election and it's rigged, and it can't be rigged if the guy who wants to be president for a third term, or better yet, for life, somehow has the discretionary power to say, look at the world around us. Look at the United States. It's a mess. He doesn't say I made it a mess. It's a mess. And he can declare martial law. For the first time in a very long time in the United States, you're going to actually see, maybe in the next 6 months, and I'm praying, oh Allah, I'm praying that I'm wrong, we're going to have some action of martial law. They're already having a curfew in Los Angeles. I'm pretty sure they're going to have a curfew in Texas. The last time you started having real curfews was what? The riots. The Rodney King riots, the riots after King was killed. Do you see the parallels? That people are taking, what I want to say, the will of the folks, cracking the will of the folks, then telling them that there's nothing wrong. And then when you scream after you get punched or you shot or you hit with a rubber bullet, when you scream, all of a sudden, that's noise pollution. When you fall down and you can't get up, that's obstruction, right? When you're running away from bullets and you jump a fence, that's trespassing. People have begun to figure these things out. Now, let me put this into very, very broad terms for African Americans. The danger of the situation that you're having right now is that in a mean and deliberate sort of way, Black folk will have to sit on the sidelines and watch this. We got to play this one out. Everybody who jumped in and said, I'm a victim, look at me, I'm a victim, look at me, pay attention to this, pay attention to that, and didn't pay attention to the base things happening in the streets around the United States of America, we're now in a situation we can't help you if we wanted to. There's a reason why, you don't put a microphone in front of a Black person and talk about Palestine, because you're going to mess around and tell the truth. Palestine is too aligned with our experience, and our experience is much longer than Palestine. The plight of things are going on in Africa. These are African brothers and sisters, but they won't put a microphone and say, what do you think about it? We're too close to the truth. And the thing that happened here in the United States, particularly in the Muslim community, is you moved away from the truth and you moved to what's popular. You moved to what you thought would get you the most attention. And what happened is it took you away from your family. It took you away from foundational things that make the United States the thing that is unique to so many other countries. That in this country, the most downtrodden, the most abused, the most oppressed can still rise up and produce a certain amount of excellence that can't be tapped. It can't be explained. Is it from God? Of course it is. Across our communities. Is it from God? Of course it is. We don't give the United States its due. We don't say the United States, help me with the civil rights movement. We don't say the United States, help me with voting. We don't say the United States helped us develop initiatives for Islam that laid a blueprint for international Islam to come here. When in truth, brothers and sisters, the African American Muslim is not a global brand. It's been denied a global brand. This is why you don't see it on TV. This is why you don't see it in TV shows. Because people are scared. And it's easy for me to deal with you than to deal with this person. It's easier for folks to deal with Palestine than it is to deal with a Black person who serves in the military, comes back, deals with his country, and winds up killed in his uniform. I'm referring to Black Wall Street. The last time you really saw the United States go after its own citizens in a killing action was Black Wall Street. Why? Why? The question is, America cannot see itself as an oppressor, oppressing, and still see people that rise up out of, like they say, roses that rise up out of the concrete. They can't handle that. You put a mirror up and they don't see their own reflection. And it's a scary thing that's going on. You know, if anybody has anything they want to jump in, feel free. Listen, we got Lewis Miller. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My pre-dads, my main man from Marquette University. How you doing, beloved? Good brother, man. I met Lewis when I thought I could play football, and both those wound up quitting. But good friend. If I say I had a good friend, heck of a friend, Lewis Miller is that. Good to see you on the show, Lou. So look, I'm gonna break this down because we only got 9 minutes on this thing. So when you see the National Guard going around, and here in D.C., you actually saw the National Guard come, and that's when Trump had the Bible up backwards the wrong way for a press, for a photo op. They used a helicopter to move the people out of the area. That was a policing action. The reason I say it's a policing action because if you're doing it against your own citizens and they are not allowed to bring in helicopters to do that, why? Because it's Washington, D.C. Only one helicopter lands in Washington, D.C. downtown. That's the president's helicopter. How are you using National Guard people to move people out of space? Why? It's a rehearsal. Now, here's the thing that people are going to want you to think. That civil unrest is so out of control that people can't talk to one another, that folks cannot have conversations about what's going on and have peaceful discourse. The fact of the matter, people are having conversations and peaceful discourse. It's just that the people who cause the discourse are not part of the conversation. That is, the disruption has to be a part of the temperament, the unbalance has to be a part of the dialogue, and people just aren't going for it. They're not going for it. Hold on a minute, people. We got I keep looking up because my cameras. I got 2 cameras, folks, so I'm gonna look directly at the camera. All right, thank you, Satana. So let me give this guys to you this thing straight, and also I want to give a shout out. I think Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. Is it the Beach Boys? The Beach Boys. They passed away, 82 years old. This was going to hurt you, Lou. Don't get depressed. Sly Stone passed away. Thank you for letting me be myself. Family affair. Everyday people. Just a major musician. Passed away. Here's the significance of a Sly Stone. Because we're sort of like in a Sly Stone era music. Like his music would serve as a soundtrack for what we're going through now. His music was protest music. It was groundbreaking music. His music right now would not be played on, it wouldn't be played on mainstream radio stations because his music was DEI music. He pioneered integrated bands and went to Woodstock, blew him out of Woodstock. He was a musical genius. He had some problems, personal problems, drugs. Okay, we all get that. But hey, man, it was the 60s. Who didn't have a drug problem? You know what I'm saying? But let me throw this out to you. His lyrics, and if you get a chance to listen to his lyrics, they belie the fact that he understood social ineptness, that society over a period of time and short periods of time, and definitely during his period of time, was failing. And that it was the people, everyday people were the ones who had to talk and make sure this is important. As I alluded to earlier at the beginning of this podcast, it's like, if our local politics are not correct, if we're not dialed in, for lack of a better word, if we're not dialed in talking about the things that make us powerful, the things that give us meaning, value in these particular situations, you're going to get around people who don't understand value. Does that make sense to you? They don't understand value. Got a couple people. Sakina 75. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mosalada. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yusuf Awada. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for joining us. Here's a danger. If you get around people who don't understand value and you start talking value, you're going to spook them. Spook them. I didn't say inspire them. I said spook them. You're not going to move them to a situation scenario where they say, I want to upskill on what I'm going through. I want to upskill on how I talk, how I walk, how I make money, how I educate myself, how I do my business. They're not going to do that. You know, the distinguished characteristic of MAGA is that MAGA has levels. And I mean levels. There's a level here and there's a level here. And in between, brothers and sisters, there's a lot of space. And in between that space is a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear. That's why I said MAGA is a cult, because it needs a leader. You know, be careful about Donald Trump. Donald Trump just happened to be a guy that fit in the mold. But it's been needing a leader for a long, long time. Look at the major oppression groups. KKK, neo-Nazis here in America. You never really hear about a consensus leader for these people. And now, the president, he plays them like a finely tuned or finely untuned instrument, however you want to do it, because he knows that he deals with a constituency. I don't want to say that's dumb, but they're blind. And sometimes being blind is worse than being dumb. He knows that these people don't want to pull back the sheets and really see who they are. And I want to say who they are and basically, the potential of who they could be, because the idea of MAGA, when I look at it, is that you have to accept that you have a very low ceiling. You have a very low ceiling. That somewhere in between, you can be a person that has a lot of money, MAGA-ish, and be MAGA-ish. But in that space of being MAGA-ish, you understand that you're accepting limitations. Right now, as we sit here on this podcast, the thing that needs to happen is that we have to step away. I've said this before with Black folks. I've said it before with Latinos, Native Americans, if we can find them, because there's not a lot of them left. It's the fact that, when you have some type of illness, or you're dealing with people who are ill, the way that the illness grows is you keep running in thinking that you can heal them. You don't know what the illness is. Even if you do know what the illness is, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your families to stay back. To understand that whatever that thing is that can kill them, it could kill you. That we need to reassess and re-stratify and reclassify who it is we want to deal with in these particular situations, because we do have power. See, the thing about oppressing is oppressors need people to oppress. They need us to be outraged. They need us to be angry, because that brings us down to their level. I'm going to say this, and maybe it's a blanket statement, but I'm going to say from what I learned from my mentors, from reading Malcolm X to reading Franz Fanon to being mentored by Dick Gregory, to watching and looking at historians like Manning Marable and John Henry Clark, that our value is discernment. That we don't need to get into every conversation, particularly conversations that are not going to yield anything for us or our families or our futures, our children. That the laws that are put out, they need engagement. We have something that's accordingly a cultural imperative that nobody could touch. They've tried to, but nobody could touch. The closest they got to this cultural imperative is now they look the other way when we have interracial children and families, biracial families. That's close they can get to it. And even then it fails. So look, this is probably a 2-part show. I'm sorry it went so quickly. I can't believe it's been 30 minutes, but a lot to talk about. I'm going to be back next week. Come back, because I'm actually going to be talking about this a little bit more. We're going to have a psychologist on the show, because I really want her to start talking about mental health. I don't want her to talk about this whole aspect of MAGA. Is MAGA a mental health problem? That's what I want to ask her. Listen, you guys have been great. I will see you next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We'll be out at Adams Center doing jokes. Myself, Moses the comic, Yasmin Al-Hadi, Usman Habib, and myself. And we'll be out in Adams with the Muslims in the family. Belated Eid Mubarak. See you guys there. Shout out to anybody that's going to the groundbreaking for Omar Kareem, Banneker Bench Ventures, Addison Road. It'll be 10 o'clock on Friday. Talk to you guys later. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Take care.